In the first lecture of electrical capacitance, we have learned few conclusions from activities, and we have derived definition. We have even got mathematical expression for electrical capacitance of a capacitor. And from first lecture, you need to understand that a capacitor is a device which store energy in terms of charge. That is one thing you should remember. And the second thing is electrical capacitor, if its potential is decreased, it will be having ability to store more amount of charge. So if potential decreases, its capacity increases. That's point number 2. And point number 3, if you are taking two plates, then the potential decreases. As a result, its capacity increase. Therefore, every capacitor is made up of two plates. And number 4, if you are changing the size of the capacitor, if you are varying the shape of the capacitor, the capacitance will be varied. Depending upon its size and shape, you will be having different capacities for a capacitor. These are the things which we have discussed in the first lecture. And as we already know that electrical capacitance C is equal to Q by V, that is what we have discussed earlier. And C is capacitance, Q is charge and V is potential. Q is having unit coulomb and V has unit volt. Coulomb per volt is the farad. So farad is the largest unit of electrical capacitance. So generally, when you are dealing with unit of capacitance, it will be written like 10 microfarad. This micro stands for 10 power minus 6 farad, or 10 picofarad, or 10 millifarad. So farad is very large unit of the capacitor. So this 10 power minus 6 and 10 power minus 9, so those all prefixes will be included when you are dealing with macroscopical capacitance. So you take care of that. Whenever it is mu, you need to substitute 10 power minus 6. Whenever it is pico, it is 10 power minus 12, like that. These all are the suffixes, SI prefixes, which is been included in the unit of electrical capacitance. Keep that in your mind and substitute those prefixes when you are substituting in the formula. And we already learned that whenever you are dealing with capacitor, you will be taking two plates, one with positive charge and the other one with negative charge. If you are taking two plates, electric potential decreases. As a result, net capacity increases. Right? These are the things which we have already discussed in lecture 1. In today's session, we will be learning few concepts regarding electrical capacitors and different types of electrical capacitors. What are different types of electrical capacitors and mathematical equation governing electrical capacitance of different capacitors. So that we will be discussing in today's session, and it is very, very important for entrance point of view. This is isolated sphere. It is an isolated sphere, and this isolated sphere has a positive charge and its radius is r. As it is isolated conductor, it is a conducting material. When you are providing charge to that, it will be accommodated on the surface of it, and it has radius r. I want to now find out what is its capacitance of isolated spherical conductor. First, I will derive equation for electrical capacitance, and then I will derive equation for energy, potential energy stored by the electrical conductor. With these two things we will be deriving in this particular slide. So as we know, Q is equal to CV and C is equal to Q by V. So in order to derive capacitance of the conductor, we need to know what is potential. As this conductor has charge Q, it is already given. It is accommodating some charge Q, right? Now we know potential on surface of spherical conductor is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. It is capital Q divided by R. Is it not? Potential on the surface of the spherical conductor. This we have already derived in electrostatics. It is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R. So this is V. Okay. As C is equal to Q divided by V, I'll just substitute that here. It is Q divided by, what is V? V is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught capital Q divided by R. This Q and Q gets cancelled. C is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught into R. Right? This is equation for electrical capacitance of the isolated spherical conductor. And remember, C is directly proportional to R. As radius of the conductor increases, the capacitance also increases. For example, if you are taking one conductor of radius R1, you are taking another conductor of radius R2. Its capacity, this is having capacity C1 and this is having capacity C2. As radius of the second capacitor is greater, capacitance of the second conductor is greater than capacitance of the first conductor. This is what you need to remember. So capacitance of the spherical conductor is 4 pi epsilon naught R. It is directly proportional to radius of the conductor. Clear? This is first thing you need to understand. So students, in this part we have already derived equation for electrical capacitance. C is proportional to V. Now let us derive equation for electrical energy stored within this conductor. Energy stored, potential energy stored on this conductor. For that, what I do, let me consider a charge dq. Let me consider a charge dq which is placed at some particular infinite position. Now this dq charge is to be brought. dq charge is to be brought somehow onto the surface of this conductor. Okay. Now as this conductor, it has positive charge and it is capital Q, and you have smaller charge dq. This dq is somewhere placed at infinite position. You need to bring that dq charge closer to this spherical conductor. So in order to bring this dq charge closer to the spherical conductor, you should do some work. Is it not? So work done in bringing test charge dq from infinity to particular point. W is equal to V into dq. We know this. W is equal to VQ. Work done is equal to force into displacement, right? In the same way, you will be getting work done W is equal to delta V into Q. This we have already learned in electrostatics chapter. W is equal to VQ. So in between two potential points, if you are moving a charge Q, then it will be gaining some that you need to do some work, and this work done is equal to change in potential energy of the conductor, and this is work energy theorem. So W is equal to delta U. In order to find out potential energy stored by this conductor, you should just find out this V dq, right? So in order to find out electrical potential energy, I'll just integrate this V into dq. You are bringing this dq charge from infinite position to particular point, right? So to this particular point you are bringing it, right? This is equal to integration. What is V? V can be written as Q divided by C into dq, right? Now this is 1 by C. You can bring it, you can take as constant. U is equal to 1 by C integration Q dq. It is Q square divided by 2. So you are getting equation. It is Q square divided by 2C. So therefore potential energy gained by conductor is equal to Q square divided by 2C. This is very important formula where you will be using everywhere in this chapter. It is Q square divided by 2C. So when you are providing some charge to a electrical conductor, as it is accommodating that extra charge on its surface, it gains some potential energy, and that potential energy gained is equal to charge accommodated on its surface divided by 2 times its capacity. Now as we know, Q is equal to CV, you can just substitute that here. So this gives you C square V square divided by 2C. C and C gets cancelled. So this can be also written as half C V square. So first equation is in terms of Q and C, we do not have V. Second equation is in terms of C and V, you do not have Q. And next one, you can eliminate C and you can write it in terms of Q and V. How do you write? C can be written as Q by V. So this is half into Q, V is equal to U, right? Any of these three equations, either this one or this one or this one, any of these three equations can be used in order to find out potential energy gained by the conductor depending upon work done. And in the problem, whatever the physical quantities are being given to you, use depending on that, you can use any of these three equations. If charge and capacity is given, then you can use Q square by 2C. If capacity and potential is given, you can use half CV square. If charge and potential is given, you can use half QV. So these are the three equations where you can find out potential energy gained by the conductor when it is accommodating some charge upon its surface. You should learn how the material medium in which a conductor is being placed influence its capacity. As we know that electrical capacitance C is equal to Q by V. Electrical capacitance C is equal to Q by V, and we know V is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R. This is in air, because epsilon naught is permittivity of air. It is permittivity of air. Epsilon naught is permittivity of air. So potential, I am considering it as V1. It is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R. This is in air medium. Okay. Now what I do, I'll take this spherical conductor and I am placing it in some another medium. Okay. I am placing it in some another medium. Its permittivity is epsilon. Okay. Now, when you are placing it in another medium whose permittivity is epsilon, how do you write potential? V1 dash is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q divided by R. Nothing has been changed except the permittivity. Now, clearly, you can consider this epsilon is equal to K into epsilon naught, where K is equal to dielectric constant. It is dielectric constant. Now take this epsilon and substitute over here. See, epsilon is greater than epsilon naught because it is multiplied with K. K is a positive value. It is greater than 1. So epsilon will be definitely greater than epsilon naught. So check it up as epsilon is greater than epsilon naught. Comparing this equation V1 and V1 dash, epsilon is greater, so therefore V1 dash is less than V1. Understand this clearly. Epsilon is greater than epsilon naught. As epsilon is in the denominator, V1 dash is less than V2. That means potential in dielectric medium. Potential in dielectric medium decreases. right? As potential decreases, as V1 dash is less than V1, the new capacity C dash will be greater than C. Okay, so as potential decreases, capacity of conductor with dielectric medium increases. Okay, now let me show you how it is. Simply take these equations and substitute here. So actually C is capacitance of the spherical conductor. I'm substituting V1 over there in this equation, basic equation, so that what do you get? 4 pi epsilon naught into R. This is C, initial capacity. This is initial capacity. Now C dash with dielectric medium. What do you write? 4 pi epsilon into R. But what is epsilon? Epsilon is equal to epsilon naught into K. So C dash is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught into K R. This is equal to K into 4 pi epsilon naught R. What is 4 pi epsilon naught R? It is a C. So C dash is equal to K times C. Right? Very, very important point. What I mean to tell you in this is a capacitor's capacity increases by K times in a dielectric medium of dielectric constant K, right? So this is very important thing you should remember. So if the medium has dielectric constant K1, then new capacity will be K1 into C. So the capacity of a capacitor is depending on size, shape, and also dielectric medium in which that particular capacitor is present. So these are the three important points you need to keep it in your mind in order to handle with problems. So let us discuss one problem. We have capacity C and 2C for two conductors, and charge given on the first conductor is 2Q and charge given on the second conductor is Q. Radius of these two conductors are different. One is having radius R1 and the other one is having radius R2. Now your question is, when two conductors are connected with a wire, you are taking a conductor and these two conductors are connected with a wire. Find final charge, find common potential, find heat produced in the process. These are the three things you are supposed to find out. Okay. Now let us take one conductor and join these two metallic spheres. I'm taking a wire. Okay. When I take wire and join these two conductors, what literally happens is charge flow from high potential to low potential, right? So point number 1 to be noted is, when a wire is connected between two conductors, charge flow from high potential to low potential. This is point number 1 you need to understand. Is it not? So when you are connecting these two conductors with wire, charge will be definitely flowing from high potential to low potential. I am not telling you that high charge to low charge. No, you cannot decide it from 2Q to Q, as 2Q is greater, Q is smaller. 1Q from smaller conductor will be entering into the other conductor. That is absolutely wrong. You cannot decide it like that. You should decide it by potential. Okay, so if potential of the conductor is less, then from greater potential charge get transferred to another conductor. Now let us find out what are the potentials of those two conductors. First, let me write down potential of first conductor, V1. V is equal to Q divided by C, that is 2Q divided by, what is its capacity? C. That is potential of the first conductor. Now what about potential of the second conductor? V2 will be equal to, what is charge accommodated here? Q divided by, what is its capacity? It is 2C, right? That is what we have got, two potentials, V1 and V2. Clearly from these two, which one is greater? Definitely V1 is greater than V2. Potential of the first conductor is greater than potential of the second conductor, obvious. Therefore, charge flow from first conductor to second conductor. One thing is clear. Now charge is flowing. Now let me consider how much amount of charge is flowing. You do not know. You should consider that charge. Let me consider that Q dash is the amount of charge which is flowing from smaller conductor to larger conductor. Small conductor to big conductor. How much amount of charge is now flowing? Q dash. When Q dash charge flow to the conductor, what is the net charge on the small conductor? Now this is a smaller conductor R1. It has now charge 2Q minus Q dash. Is it not? Now you are joining it to the another conductor which is having greater radius. It is R2. What is charge upon this conductor now? It is Q plus Q dash. Is it not? From first conductor, Q dash charge is lost. It is transferred to the second conductor. Therefore, its charge is increased by Q dash times. That is very interesting thing. Now, as charge has been changed, now till what time charge get transferred? I am telling that Q dash charge is transferred from first conductor to the second conductor. Okay, that's fair. Till what time charge will be flowing from first conductor to another second conductor? It is that till potential on two conductors become equal, charge flow from one conductor to another conductor. So when you are connecting these two with a wire, now what is the final potential over here? Final potential, let me consider it as V, and final potential for this also will be V, because two potentials will be equal when you are connecting with the wire. Charge transfer takes place till those potentials become equal. So that is the reason why I'll now write down potential final. V final will be equal to, V is equal to Q by C, that is 2Q minus Q dash divided by its capacity is C, and for the second one it will be Q plus Q dash divided by, what is its capacity? 2C, and final potential of these two will be same. So that is the reason why I can equate these two. Potentials of these two conductors are equal after transferring of charge. So I will be equating these two equations, so that what do you get? C and C gets cancelled. It is 2Q minus Q dash. This 2 comes over here, is equal to Q plus Q dash. Now 4Q minus 2Q dash is equal to Q plus Q dash. Okay, so I can bring 4Q, this Q to the other side. That gives you 3Q is equal to 2Q dash comes over here. That will be 3Q dash. 3 and 3 gets cancelled. Q dash is equal to Q. Right? So this is charge transferred. Charge transferred from first to second conductor. Very important concept. Okay, this is what we have learned. First question is completed. You are now supposed to find out what is the final charge on the capacitors. So final charge on the capacitors Q1 final is equal to Q. Q2 final is equal to 2Q. Okay, just charges get reversed because from the first conductor Q charge is transferred to the second one. Charge on the first conductor decreases by Q, so 2Q become Q. And on the second one, as Q is being added over there, you will be getting 2Q. These are the charges finally on the two capacitors. We are now supposed to calculate final charge is completed. Final charge on the first one Q1 is equal to Q, and on the second conductor Q2 will be equal to 2Q. These are the final charges on the conductor that we have already calculated. And coming to the second one, find common potential. So as we know, you can find out potential of any one conductor. V1 is equal to Q divided by C. What is final charge on the first conductor? It is Q divided by C. That is V1. This is common potential. After transfer of charge, you need to find the potential. So common potential in the sense both will have same potential. So same potential you should find out. Question number 2 we have already calculated in the past slide itself. Vf is equal to Q by C. That is the final potential over there. On the two surfaces it will be equal. Now coming to the next thing, you should find out heat released over there. Now in order to find out heat released, what you need to do, as we know, heat produced is equal to change in potential energy. Heat produced is equal to change in potential energy. So Q will be equal to this capital Q, it is heat. Don't consider it as charge, it is heat. Heat produced is equal to U final minus U initial. Final potential energy minus initial potential energy of the system gives you total heat produced. Now let us find out initial heat energy. Ui is equal to, on the first one, U1 plus U2. First one, it is having potential energy Q square by 2C. That is 4Q square divided by 2C. This and this gets cancelled. Plus on the second one, Q square divided by 4C, right? So this is equal to Q square by C. I can take it common. Q square by C, if I take it common, it is 2 plus 1 by 4. So it is 4 to the 8 plus 1, 9. 9Q square divided by 4C. That is initial potential energy. Initially, before connection of the wire, initial potential energy is 9Q square by 4C. Now let us find out final potential. Final potential is U1 dash plus U2 dash. Finally, what is its charge? Final charge on the first one, it is Q, and on the second one it is 2Q. I'll substitute that over here. It is Q square divided by 2C plus on the second one it is 2Q. So it is 4Q square divided by 4C. Q and Q gets cancelled. This is Q square divided by C. I can take it common. It is 1 by 2 plus 1. This is equal to 3 by 2. 3Q square divided by 2C. That is final potential energy. Delta U is equal to U final minus U initial. Final, it is, I can take Q square by C common from those two. It is 3 by 2 minus of 9 divided by 4. This gives you 6 minus 9 divided by 4 into Q square divided by C, right? This is minus 3Q square divided by 4C. So total heat produced over here will be equal to 3Q square divided by 4C. Remember here, final potential will be less than initial potential because heat is released. Remember that heat is released. heat is released in the process. As heat is released in the process, final potential U final will be less than U initial. Initial potential energy is greater than that of the final potential energy. So then only heat will be produced within this particular process, right? So that is how you can find out heat produced in this process.